Good evening, and if you're just joining us, thank you so much for tuning in. You are listening live to the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. Now, if you're listening, we would love to have you watch the show. So you can come join us on a YouTube channel. It's called UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube. Or if you're on Facebook, if you're on one of my friends, you'll see it on my Facebook profile. You'll see it also. We have 5 pages on Facebook, United Public. No, sorry, UFO Paranormal Radio News on the side. There's one called Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, all kinds. Hey, Zach, you're already here. Great to see you. We're also on Twitch, and we're also on Twitter. I was thinking it was Periscope, but Periscope has finally put itself to bed. Now, if you've never been to my show, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome again. As always, we have Zach, who usually supports. I'm going to get to our great guest who's sitting here so patiently. But if you haven't been to the show before, I say I cover all aspects of paranormal. So whether, or even the supernatural. So it could be UFOs, could be aliens, could be the real paranormal. But I also love to cover things like angels and the power of positivity, the power of your mind, Reiki, how to act with your spirit guides, those kind of things. I'm from Canada. I am a psychic medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner. I'm a spiritual teacher and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse. And tonight, I have an amazing guest. As always, all my guests are amazing. I'm sorry, but I have to say that they are. I don't mean to sound egotistical, because the show's always about my guests. So you'll see tonight we have another great guest. He's quite active on Facebook. His name is Ben Eden. He is, let me try to get this right, Ben, as I'm yapping away here, a super conscious transformation coach. He's an empath. He does Reiki. He has a webpage called The Healing Medium. He is amazing. He's coming to us from Australia. I know he said he's from the UK, but he now lives in Australia. Welcome, Ben. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here and connect with you.
Well, I love it. Like I said, Zach, we haven't seen in a while. Zach's one of our regular supporters, and we love when people do that. So thank you. Lots of times we get regular people watching. We have kind of like a little family on YouTube. It's not one of our biggest channels yet. So if you hear that, share this, please subscribe, because we want to continue to grow and share the great content. Everything, something for everybody here on UPRN. So make sure you share and let people know. So, you know what? It was so great. Like I said, somebody sent me an invite to your group. And
Yes.
I always will say yes. Like if it looks like it's something up my alley, I consider myself a light worker. That's kind of the buzz term out there. And it looked like it was something right up my alley. But what caught my eye was you messaged me, and it wasn't a form message. It was like this personal message and said, welcome to the group. And I messaged you back and we started chatting, right?
Yes. Yes, I've forgotten about that actually.
I didn't, because I was really surprised. And I told you off air, one of my friends, really close friends I work with in Atlanta, that's our guest, I know you, or people watching, I know you know. And I told her you were on. She said, oh, I know who Ben is. I love watching him. So I, of course, because we know Facebook was down, we know, so was Instagram, WhatsApp, what have you. We didn't get a chance to get your bio, but you mentioned to me, would it be okay if you added this? And it's a super conscious transformation coach. Now, I have an idea what that is, but I'm sure our audience doesn't. So would you mind letting them know what's that? What is that?
Yes, so it's something that I'm hugely passionate about. And it's basically a way to transform your beliefs, because, our whole entire, earthly experience is completely based on our belief system and what we believe, what we've picked up through our own, trauma, through our childhood, but even what's been passed down from generations. And, it's been proven that we can have up to 7 generations above us, their beliefs when we're born. And then we navigate through the world with these beliefs, with this structure. So this can be hugely beneficial if we're given the right structure, if we're given the healthy structure of how to look after ourselves, how to view and communicate with ourselves. But if we're not, and we don't have the best setup, and And lots of the time, it's not because anybody has done anything wrong or our family has given us the wrong structure. It's just that we don't know anything else. And it just goes down the generations. So super conscious transformation coaching is essentially recoding those beliefs. It's identifying what beliefs are running on autopilot, what ones are working against you and stopping you from, taking that next step, from living a life you love ultimately. And we recode the beliefs, eradicate them, and put positive beliefs in there so that works essentially for you and not against you. And then you can move towards your dream life with ease.
I love it. Those are all words that just totally resonate with me, because I agree with everything you're saying. We can carry a lot down. You know what came to mind when you said that parents don't do anything? I do believe all parents do the best that they can, regardless of whether sometimes maybe it's a good job, not such a great job, what have you. Everybody, I worked in the NICU and maternal newborn, and I wasn't a mother yet. And, moms with hormones and everything else. And usually the third day postpartum, if they were still in the hospital, was really difficult. And you'd get these brand new first time moms crying, saying, "Oh my God, I don't understand this. I've read every single book." And I'd say, that's because the book The Baby didn't come with instructions. But my whole point with this is it brought to mind the black sheep in the family, right? How many times do we hear this from people that everybody's like a doctor and a lawyer, and then there's always somebody. It's like, I've met so many of these people that will say, "I'm the black sheep. I'm not successful. I'm not whatever."
Yeah.
We know that words and what we put out into the universe can also really strengthen that energy, if you will, where you are when we putting out that we're not successful. How does this help someone like this, or what's your thoughts? Does this play into this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have three memories that are all working at the exact same time. Now, the first memory we have is our superconscious, which has been here before we were born. It will be with us right up until after this lifetime. It's always there. People may call it different names, but I call it the superconscious. Now, this is always listening. So everything you do, every situation you're in, every time someone says you're not good enough, that you're not clever, every time you tell yourself that, you are communicating with this superconscious. And it's essentially a field of information. So all of the answers to your questions, all of the solutions to your problems are in this field around you. It's already there. And when we communicate, when we say to ourselves, "Oh, I can't do that," or "I'm not good enough," it simply says, "Okay," and it does. It's there to increase your satisfaction and reduce pain.
And we serve, I always say, that's what it is, right?
Yes.
I hear that.
Yes.
I call it your higher self, your subconscious. It's all these things, but you're right. It's always turned on and it's always listening, because people find this so hard to believe. But as human beings, I know we're here to come here and, we have lessons possibly to help enhance our knowledge when it comes to on a soul level and what have you. But we really are supposed to be here and live our best lives, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
That hears us. And so you say that, right? And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's what your superconscious is there for, to actually help us and give us that information that we need. But we just don't know how to communicate with it. We don't know how to access this field around us. Basically the highest form of communication is behavior. So that superconscious is watching and listening. And as you behave, as you do things, it then adapts your world around you. And it will depend whether you see, what you see as you navigate through the world. So this is where sort of like the superconscious transformation coaching comes in, because we just recode that and we teach you to be able to really be able to communicate with that field and say, right, well, this is what I want from life. And I feel as well that in my experience and what I've sort of witnessed through my own clients is that we dream so small, like so small. And most people, I would say, what would you love to have? And they'll say, oh, an extra $1,000. We dream so small because of our beliefs and through education and society tells us to be realistic and dream small. So that's what we do. And then we continue to navigate through the world in that way.
So let's talk a little bit about that's usually how I start my shows. But you know what? When I knew when people would hear that, they'd say, "Well, what is that? I don't think I've heard that term before." But let's talk about all this because you're a medium as well. And
Yeah.
so, how did this start for you? Like in like most of us from childhood, or mine kind of turned on mediumship as I got older. It was always there. Just I didn't know how to pay attention to it or what. But I'd love to hear how was it for you growing up and your story behind how you discovered the gift you have that you're sharing with the world.
So for me, I, like most mediums, like most spiritual people, I went through a series of traumatic events that seemed to repeat itself,
Yeah.
cycle after cycle, time after time. And I found that the situation was different, but the trauma, the circumstances around the trauma was the same. And I was
Mhm.
living in this cycle, and I'd take myself out of one, I'd be back in it, but with a different person or a different situation, and I kept going round in this circle
Mhm.
until it sort of like really got really extreme. It was increasing. I was in more situations, and then this is where my spiritual awakening occurred.
Okay.
And it made me go inwards. It made me really look, what is this world we're living in? Is this what I'm born to just go through this trauma and just keep going through that? Is this really what the world is about? So I really went inwards. I went for a huge transformative healing journey myself to be able to really heal from all of the trauma that I had faced. And then when I came through the other side, during that process, I started connecting with spirit without realizing it. Just turned on for me. And then when I came through the other side, I was like, okay, so now I've got myself into a good place. I want to help people that was just like me,
Mhm.
where before I was able to go through that journey, because I, and lots of people probably can resonate with the fact that I was lost. I was like, how do I get out of this cycle? What do I do? How do I change my life? So I was like, right, this is now my life path to help those lost people
Oh,
and really, empower themselves and see that inner power they've got within themselves.
that's what I was thinking too, and I think we talked about this when we first connected that, I know very few people in this field that we're in that have not had a very trauma-filled life. It has not been easy. You end up with pretty well everything on your plate. Yet the other thing in working with spirit, and again, it's just my perspective, but it's almost like we've been around the block quite a few times. We're kind of some of those older souls. It's like we know we can handle it before we incarnate into this lifetime. But once you
Yes.
find out when you awaken, I am sure I know I have, I know many people have. It's like, seriously, seriously. Like, did you really think I needed all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely, a training ground. Like when I look at the situations that I went through,
Mhm.
it was a training ground, because what happens is the clients that I attract are the ones who have been through or are going through what I did.
Mhm.
So it was this training ground for me.
Sorry, go ahead, hun. Oh, hi, Eric. Welcome. We've had Eric before, so welcome, Eric. So glad to have you here. I apologize, Ben. I forgot to tell you before we go live. I know Zach knows this. I don't know if it's with me being up in Canada and we're broadcasting from New Orleans or what,
Yeah.
and you're in Australia, but I always have a bit of a delay. So it'll seem like there's a pause. So if I accidentally talk over you, I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
It almost seems in this line of work that the stuff that you've experienced in your lifetime and come out on the other side. And again, we all want to help others, especially when you've been through what you've been through. I mean, that's what this whole field is about, right? Getting people to
Yeah.
recognize the incredible, amazing potential we have as human beings, too, that we've been
Yes.
told is never possible. So let's talk
Yeah.
about that, because I think this is an important point. Because I don't know about you, but I'm meeting a lot of people that are very lost right now. They're not sure where to go. There's a lot of fear. But you said
Yeah.
people dream really small. You are so right about that. So, how do we
Yeah.
get people to recognize this and realize, besides, I mean, contacting you, but there's like just one, you, right? But I mean, even so they can start helping themselves to start realizing anything is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is an area that I basically will have and will dedicate the rest of my life to helping people gain awareness on this, because we live life through this society that we're in, through our education, through our family and genetics as well, where we believe, we are born, we go to school, we go to work, 9 to 5, we come home, go on holiday 2 weeks a year, and that's it, and that's our life until we die. And that we have to like really store all these difficult times within our bodies. And it's actually, we have so much ability that we can just switch on if we just know how, if we're taught how to, and we're educated. And then you can just start, really seeing life for what it is, that we are these spiritual beings with really strong abilities to create whatever we want.
Well, I believe that Earth, and I was just watching some videos. I'm always watching videos, or they say I'm going to be a lifelong learner. There's so much to learn about this field, even when it comes to the paranormal. I've talked to you about that before privately. I said I feel smaller than a celled organism when it comes to the amount of knowledge compared to what we used to consider real life. And, so are you comfortable? I always am careful asking people with their programs, because this is the way you make your living. You hear people say, well, if you have this gift, you should be sharing it, if it comes from the creator. And it's like, we live on a planet where money is the currency, how we live. It would be great to walk into a grocery store and say, all those fruit and vegetables came from the creator, so they should be free. And this came from, you know what I'm saying? So people are comfortable, but what kind of tools could people expect, if you're comfortable sharing a bit about that, when they're working with you, that help make these kind of transformations for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially where we start is right back at the beginning.
Okay.
So our first point is really identifying what are the limiting beliefs, because many people don't realize that it's a limiting belief.
Yeah.
They don't realize, and it's not until they say something and then I'll catch them saying it, and then we can challenge that and be like, okay, so where is the evidence on this that that's true about you? So a really big one that I get a lot is people say, well, I'm not clever enough to do that. Like, I'm not intelligent enough to be able to just be that, to just go for it.
Yeah.
And when you really look into it, it stems from, childhood, where there's been a situation where somebody has said that, and that subconscious has said, okay, and it's taken it in, and now that's formed your beliefs. It stops you going for anything outside of that sort of, cycle. So we really go into strip it back to the beginning, and we go into these limiting beliefs and we recode them. And some people, people have huge, massive boulders in their superconscious. So you have to strip these down one at a time, and we have to continue to recode them. So I communicate directly with your superconscious.
Okay.
And I have a conversation with your superconscious. And I basically integrate all of the parts of your personality that have split off because you have been in a traumatic event. And to protect you, your personality has split and said, right, well, we need to protect ourselves now, because we can't be in this situation again, because it always has your best interest at heart. Right. So it's split. And what happens is your superconscious doesn't understand time like we do. So it doesn't know whether it happened in the past, whether it's in the future, or if it's happening now. Right. So when you have a trigger, what will happen is you will hear a word, or it might just be the energy or a situation or a place, even a smell. And your superconscious recognizes that with your trauma.
Okay.
So it wakes up and panics and says, oh my God, we're being, traumatized now. So I need to protect ourselves. So this is where this, fight and flight or freeze mode comes from.
Okay.
And it thinks it's happening now. And that's when you get that emotional trigger where you just need to get out of the situation, or you need to protect yourself and say, no, I'm not going to do this. So I have a conversation with that and say, it's okay, we're not going through that now. And I join that part back to your main personality. Then recode and remove the belief that was formed based on the trauma.
What an incredible gift you have, because I'm sure, like you say, most of us would say, well, no, we can't do that. Well, I always say, though, too, that we have natural born gifted singers, musicians, some people are leaders, athletes, whatever, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't learn a new skill. It almost sounds like this was your gift, your aptitude. Like, this is something really powerful. I'll be very honest with you. speaking to so many people. I'm the first person, you're the first person. Sorry, my brain's not working tonight. You're the first person I have talked to that has this process, and what an incredible process. Now, do you teach people how to do this, or like do you mentor people, or how does that? I've got so many questions because you know what? I don't do a lot of research about because I like to have just a conversation. I'm actually curious, and I love to ask a lot of questions. So, how does like teach
I love it.
people how to help
So
other
what
people?
happens is I hold a private group separate from the one that you're part of,
Mhm.
and within that group, what happens is I do 2 recodes, superconscious recodes for everybody in the group a week. So I walk people through this sort of like format of the week where we can understand, right, what is it you're going for? What's your goal? What you're looking to create? Could
Mhm.
just be, I would like to be confident. Lots of people just want to create that. Or it
Mhm.
could be something like, actually, I want a promotion, or I want to, I want to start my own business. I want a successful business. So we never problem solve in this sort of like recoding. It's always working on recoding where we need to go, and we focus about getting in that place. And I do 2 live recodes as a group every single week. So people will come along with their goal, and then I'll recode the limiting beliefs for them. And then they can go through the week with ease and without this resistance, without feeling not good enough, without feeling, they're not clever enough, or they can't just be it. So we start the week that way, and then we end the week that way as well. So we've got a good start and a good end. And then within that group as well, I'm live all throughout the week, providing support. And that's really just one part of it, because I also have many, many processes to recode family trauma. You
Interesting.
see, because we carry it. We carry our mum's trauma when our mum had to go through a difficult time in her 20s. We're holding that in our bodies.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what you said that the personality splits. And somebody just maybe popping into this and hearing this and saying, yeah, right. Well, you even look at it used to be called split personality disorder. I think it's called dissociative personality disorder now,
Yeah,
where a child has been through so much trauma that they literally have multiple personalities where they don't remember, might
yeah,
take over, another might take over. It's a real thing. It really is. Have you worked
yeah.
with somebody like that? Obviously, I would never ask you any confidentiality issues or not, but I mean details. But I'm wondering, like, would you be able to help somebody like? I think there's a lady in Australia. I seen a video. I think she's got over 150. She calls them alters. Have you ever worked with somebody like that?
I haven't worked with anyone who has like a severe personality sort of disorder, just because it sort of borders on the realm of needing a doctor
Yes, it can.
for to be able to really understand the deep levels of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I usually leave it to the doctors.
I hope that didn't sound like a loaded question. Like I said, my brain's going over here. Like I'm thinking the nurse and me and the whole. I'm just thinking, oh my, because a lot of them don't have a lot of success. But I hear what you're saying. You're respecting that they need to go through, especially if they've been diagnosed by a medical professional.
Yeah,
That would make sense because for myself being a nurse, I also forget to. I'm a medical intuitive, but I tell people too. I can
yeah,
and the other thing is, even as a nurse, I can't diagnose you. Like the worst part, I have to be honest with you, is if, especially working in the hospital and somebody's biopsy came back and you knew that it was cancer, we couldn't say anything until the doctor diagnosed them. I get it. I get it. But like I said,
yeah.
curiosity wise, I was thinking, imagine the success, but I hear you totally. Gotcha. So this must take up a big part of your work, but I know it's on your webpage too, like you still do mediumship readings and all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about all your work and please throw in anything else
Yeah.
because I try not to ask people too much about a program of theirs unless they're comfortable discussing, how I do it, whatever. You talk about whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So yeah, absolutely a psychic medium as well. I'm really passionate about all aspects, because one of the things that I really identified as well from having clients for mediumship
Mhm.
is that there was a lot of trauma, and there was a lot of people who actually really wanted to create their dream life but didn't believe in themselves,
Oh
but
yeah.
didn't feel like they were good enough. So for me, I really wanted to create a business that was like this 360. Like, yes, I will absolutely help guide you through your difficult times in life. I'll connect you to your loved ones in spirit. But I really want to help you on a deep level as well. I want you to have success, and I want you to live a life that you love. But I want you to learn the tools and techniques to be able to go on after you've seen me to continue to create this life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you set for the rest of your life. So I wanted this 360 where I really covered all aspects of this spiritual growth area, as well as sort of like mentoring people that are just stepping into spirituality and want to go down the mediumship route as well. So it was really important that I didn't stop with mediumship, and I will just continue to grow in that area.
I hear you, because like you said, like I'm seeing right now, I'm actually putting this together. It's probably the first time I'm going to talk about this on the air. And maybe hitting, I know how busy you are though. There's quite a few light workers that we all come across in our field, doesn't matter what field you're in. And I am finding, as well as many light workers, that there is such a spiritual awakening happening right now.
Yes.
So many with the same questions that I'm sure probably you asked. I know I asked years ago, thinking, how do I open my third eye? What are my guides' names? Like, all these things that as time has gone on and you connect more with spirit and you get information, right? We've achieved those answers. And so I got this from spirit, and it's a lady, actually I mentioned, very close friend and light worker in Atlanta. Her page is actually called The Crystal Architect. And I love crystals. I'm wearing one right now. I know quite a bit. I call her the crystal wizard, because there's just anything I got to ask her, she knows. So I'm kind of getting a bunch of people together. And it's people that there's expertise. Like, for example, whether it was mediumship or what you're doing with your process as a super conscious transformation coach. And we're bringing people together. Like, there's an animal communicator, different types of healers, all kinds of aspects. And the way Spirit gave it, we're going to have a group together. It's going to be free. And we don't know how long it's going to be. We're going to put together some master classes for people. And then probably at the end of it is have like a big Q&A. Whoever can show up, but people have questions, what have you, for people that are really awakened. Because I'm finding most of us are getting a lot of questions. And then hopefully people that are really spiritually awakened will resonate with whomever is there. Maybe they're drawn to that type of work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Helping people find out about the amazing work you're doing, as well as others. And then helping humanity that's woken up too and needing the answers that we needed many years ago. So don't know what it quite looks like, but hopefully it'll be soon. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it's absolutely great that you're doing that. I think it's so fantastic. There's not enough, of that support out there for people that are stepping into it and they don't know where to go, and they go online and there's so much. You think, well, where do I go? And there's so many different beliefs in spirituality, and so it's absolutely great that you're doing that so that those people have got that support networks.
Plus, you meet so many great people. Like I said, I've truly never met somebody, and I purposely, like I said, I've got this great person that has a publishing company and is a PR agent over in the UK, well, actually in Wales, and he's a dream person to work with. He connects me with great guests. He'll send me the book, he'll send me the bio, he sends me everything, including a long list of questions. And it's not because I'm arrogant, but I really, if ever, even look at the questions, because I love to talk to people and I love to find out about their passion and what got you into this. Now, I got to ask you, because I keep hearing from Spirit, I don't know, maybe you've got this in the works or it's down the line. Have you got a book written, or are you thinking of writing a book about this?
It's on the agenda. Yes.
I know I have Spirit nagging. Ask about the book. Ask about the book.
Yes, I really want to. I really, really do want to, because I think my story from start to finish will help a lot of people who have been through that. Because lots of my trauma started when I was very young. I was a very young child. So there's lots of people that will be going through that I would love to be able to help, and so they know that they're not alone. It's not them that it's happening to. It's happened on a wider scale. So it's definitely been on my agenda. I've just been so busy launching the Super Conscious Recode group and my mediumship. So it's coming soon.
No, because I don't know why I don't usually get that. And I had it earlier today. If you really want to know, when I was looking for your website, when Facebook was down, I was searching your site for a book because I kept hearing about this book from Spirit. And I'm going, okay, I'll ask him tonight.
Yeah.
You know what, though? Like you said, you're so busy with this business, and you are, because with our time difference and everything else. So that's a good thing. But
Yes.
where are you going to go with the rest of this now? You want to do this for the rest of your life? This is new. Like you said, you've just launched this. So do you have, like you said, we're talking about dreaming big here. Are you comfortable sharing like what your visions are?
Absolutely. So for me, this group that I've got that's newly launched, I want to create a community where everybody's going for the same thing, because we're really impacted by the people that we surround ourselves with.
Absolutely.
So I want to create this community where we're all reaching for our goals, we're all taking action, and we're all able together to go in this group and recode our limiting beliefs. And I want that to get as big as possible, to get as many people as I possibly can to really just remove these limiting beliefs and create this just community of safety and empowerment. So that's the real goal that I'm going with this with the Super Conscious Transformation Recoding, and just to touch as many people as I can. So I recently, last night for Australia, I did a free recode as a group, a webinar. And I'm also holding another free one at the end of this week too, because I have a lot of US followers and a lot of Canadian followers, and so I'm holding another free recode at the end of this week, so that I can hit and help people from the US and Canada and the UK, because the time zone is really good for both. So it'll be like 4 a.m. my time, but I think it's like 6 p.m. or something like UK time. And I'm just working out the time zone for you guys.
Well, I can help you with that, because I'm up all the time anyways, but I'll probably be there unless I'm live, like depending when you do it. I hope I can pop in with you too, because we'll share it with a bunch of people too. Make sure they hear about it.
I would love you to be there. So I will release some information. My social media manager and I were planning it all today so that we can really hit as many people. Because it's an instant shift. There's no waiting. So you do the recode and it's there. You feel it. Sometimes you do other healing modalities and you're sort of waiting for that next step, that door to open. But here, right on the webinar, you'll feel it. And I want as many people to feel that. So that's the super conscious stuff that I'm trying to create and just get across to as many people as I can and help as many people as possible. And then the mediumship side of my business is I really, really love platform demonstrations.
Okay.
It's where I want to go. It's my passion. I just love it.
So when you say platform, can you tell me what are you talking, like gallery style readings, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so at the moment there's like a local place here in Melbourne that I go to from one of my mentors when I first started out, and she creates this really safe space for basically mediums to go and demonstrate in front of large groups, but also for the general public to be able to basically have access to this service at a reduced rate, and the money goes to charity as well.
I love
so
it.
It's a really good cause, and this is something that I really love to do, just to be in front of a stage and be able to give multiple readings one after the other and have that collective healing all together. So I'm currently hoping to do that within the for the foreseeable as well, when sort of the world starts to open up again in Australia.
I hear you. That's the one thing. I have tons of friends in Australia, and many similarities. And then I said, it's very interesting that you guys, Canada and the UK, we're also experiencing similar things, and we all were or are, depending where you live, part of the Commonwealth. So we have many similar things compared to the rest of the world, including like government, court systems. So we're really all just one big family, though. I think people forget that, because that's been the focus of my practice right now. I usually I'm going to bring it up right now. I remind people, and I have a son with severe autism, And there were times, he's no trouble now, he's 23, very much like that precocious age of a 5 to 7 year old. Needs mom for everything, but can be a bit independent. But there
Yeah.
were years where it was really difficult. He might be raging for 3 or 4 hours, and all I do was hold him, just ride the storm, make sure he didn't hurt himself or hurt anybody. And there was one
Yes.
day, it had been a couple hours, and I now know it was from spirit. And I got this saying in it: if this isn't going to make any difference 10 minutes from now, let alone 10 years from now, let it go and pick your battles. And that's kind of where I go with part of my message here for humanity that are listening is, you know what, 10 years from now, are you going to remember why you stopped talking to your family member or a close friend or what have you? Now's the time more than ever to unite, put our differences aside, and it's all about love right now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Now's the time to retreat and really understand, what's important to you. Where do you want your life to go? Because, it really shows that like anything can happen. So it's really important to take stock of that, in my opinion, and be like, what is it you want from life? And like, that forgiveness that we all need to go through, forgive ourselves, forgive our past, just go inwards and understand what is it your heart wants, for sure.
No, I agree with you. And even the fact about limiting beliefs, and then again, coming from a medical background, that people may not realize, and I'm sure you do with the work that you do, that a child from the first day they are born, even probably in the womb, because children can hear, up until about the age of 7, they're like a sponge. And because they don't have the comprehension to say, to understand something that was said, like you said,
Yeah,
the superconscious tucks that away, and the child decodes it in whatever way they understand it. They may not ask, what does that mean, but maybe took it as an insult, or something about
yeah,
themselves that wasn't positive. And over time, I found a lot of people too remember something from childhood, but it almost evolves and changes. I don't know if it's a superconscious that does that or not, but it makes it, I'm not saying that people haven't been through awful things, but it becomes much worse. And then once they're able to kind of unpack that and then realize that it really wasn't what they had thought it was as a child when they hung on to it. Do you find that too?
yeah, a lot of the time. And this is really, I get so many people that come through for the recoding that are exactly in that situation where
Mm-hmm.
that it's just been absorbed, and that's now their belief, and now they're orientating through the world through that belief that simply just was never true.
No, I agree, and especially about money. Like, I remember when I first heard this, because of course we work with lots of different mentors, and we're learning about, like I said, this is a whole new world. A lot of people
Yeah,
don't even feel safe enough to come out of a spiritual closet, right, with their family or what have you. So they really do have to look at places and their people to resonate with. So I love what you're creating. But like I said, going through all this healing process, part of it is, like you said, unpacking all of this, understanding maybe why we've gone through what we've gone through. But I think the hardest thing for all people, myself included, and there's days, is learning about self-love and
yeah.
self-forgiveness.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the things that we really look at in the group is what identity you are operating with. And one of the things that can happen when we don't have that self love is it will reinforce an identity that doesn't work for us. It works against us. So, for example, somebody will have a goal that they want to go for, and they start moving towards the goal. And to start with, it's okay. They start to, they get some success, and then bang, it hits them. The resistance comes in, the feeling of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this, I don't know how to do it, I'm not clever enough.
Self-sabotage too, like procrastination, and name it.
Procrastination, and all of this is your identity, because that's the identity that you're living by. So what we do typically is we drop down and say, well, actually what we need to do then is heal, because we are broken. Now this is a really difficult one, because if we embody that too much, what happens is we're sending a silent signal to our superconscious that we're broken
Mm-hmm.
and that we need fixing. So we begin to move through the world with this identity. So everything you do is about, I need to fix myself. I need to fix myself. So it's harder to swing through to your goal because that's how you're operating from. And if you're broken, it means you're not going to move towards your goal. So it's really about changing that round.
I like that because, I'm thinking about all the different healing modalities that may try and recode, if you will, using your
Yeah.
terminology. And I don't think any of them that I've ever come across would really get down to the heart of the matter. Like you said, I think that's so important when you said identity. And I was just going to say, would you mind giving us an example? I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but like I said, for people that this is new to, and you did, and that makes
Yeah.
so much sense. And we see this, like, it's always so much easier, though, to see something from the outside looking inwards. And I say that even with somebody, even in our own field, like, this is really incredible that you came to this realization. And again, you don't want anybody else to ever have to go through what you went through. But I think that's the hardest thing for ourselves. And it doesn't matter whether it's spirituality or anything, is holding that mirror up to our faces and seeing, because everything's a message. For example, I always say, if you've got a pet peeve or there's just somebody you can't stand, you don't know why, they just rub you the wrong way, that bears taking that and unpacking, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
message in it.
Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel that, as an example, I'll give myself as an example. So
Okay.
because I've been through trauma, I tried every single healing modality you can think of. You name it, I tried it because I was thinking, right, I really need to get through this trauma. And what all of that really did was it reinforced this identity within me that I'm broken, that I am my trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I didn't really get any success in anything I wanted to go because I would just continued to send these signals to my subconscious, to my superconscious that I'm broken, we need to heal, we need to do another healing modality. So I lost really faith in myself and didn't have any trust in myself. And it was only when I flipped this identity and stopped focusing so much on I need to heal myself, I need to fix myself. It was only then that I was able to completely feel like I am enough to be able to just be what I want to be. And when you have that feeling, that's when you just attract your dream life to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you hear a lot of people that'll say, well, I'm even going to back that up. Working in palliative care, and I also I almost didn't take the job. I went from the hospital and worked out in the community, and I worked in one of the most dangerous parts of our city. And I really almost didn't go. I mean, I was on my own. I went into my office every 2 weeks. Nobody had a clue where I was. I ended up buying a cell phone. I had one of those big honking cell phones that first came out because I needed something for safety. I just
Yeah.
asked a friend the other night that I am so grateful for those opportunities because I learned more about humanity, about how sometimes culture can play a role, how important communication is, and so many things about that. But my whole point is working in palliative care. I'm actually writing a book about it, but you met so many people that towards the end of life, and the main regrets that always came through were, I wish I told the people around me how much they meant to me, how much I love them. I wish I had not thought about when I lose that 20 pounds, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to be happy. Or when I retire and I have enough money, then I'm going to travel. Or, there was always regrets about things they hadn't done because it was mainly about, I kept putting my dreams off until it was finally the right time. And
Yeah.
are you seeing some of this with people? Like, obviously, it sounds like you're able to, the people that come to you, though, hopefully they won't have those kind of regrets because they realize as human beings, we're all entitled to a beautiful, wonderful, amazing life, and go out and grab those dreams and don't dream too small, right?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, there's some people, like the people typically will come through that be part of my group or will come to the recodes
Mm-hmm.
who have just always lived their life feeling like they're not enough, so they don't know any different. They've lost all they've ever known. So they live through their life. So when I recode and show them there's a different way to live, it's huge. It's a huge change for them because they've just never lived like it. They've never, had that confidence to go for the goals or to even attempt it. So it really shifts like a huge, resistance in their energy field.
I got you. So if somebody say, well, I guess probably anybody could benefit from this, but what would be sort of something, say somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, this sounds really interesting though, but do I have self-limiting beliefs, or is this something that could help me? What's ways people might be able to identify? It's kind of like you said yourself, when you were able to step out of that identity and realize that you're not broken. Is there anything you can give to people for advice, like even to seek you out or seek out your group? I guess this is something I could use.
Yeah, so the biggest way to identify whether you have a limiting belief to achieving your goal is, firstly, if you don't have it, if it's not already in your life, then there is a belief somewhere that is stopping you from having it. Because if you believed completely that it was possible, you'd already have it. It would already be here. But secondly, if you tune into that emotion of your dream life, and if you just take a few minutes to really, really visualize what that would look like, and tune into your own energy field, it will give you a sort of response. And people have this strong resistance of, I cannot, that is not possible. And that's when you start to understand, okay, so what could these beliefs be? And then if you really unpack that, it will be, you don't deserve it, or you're not worthy, or you can't have it. So that's a really easy way, firstly, to identify, okay, I've got some limiting beliefs. Maybe I don't know exactly what they are, but there's something we can recode here to just completely remove. And for people that are looking to have the recode, they can head over to my group, where I've got all of my information there, and my website as well.
Well, feel free to tell people in case when you mentioned your group before, I was saying I should get Ben to tell people, because sometimes people pop in, right? We listen to a podcast, we get busy, and we come back to. So feel free to mention what the name is. So I know I'm going to give you time at the end, but feel free to mention it now.
So my group is, my Facebook group is Ben Eden, the Healing Medium. So if you search for that, you'll be able to find it. It's where I do loads of free live reading, psychic and mediumship, and lots of healing content as well. And my website is benedenthehealingmedium.com/home. And that's where you can find all about my services and the recoding.
I love it. That's awesome. So what is a day like for you then? Because I know how busy you are. I don't have to tell people everything, but I mean, with your business, because you're pretty busy with this. So there's a lot of people starting to learn about this. So what is a typical day like? Are there special practices that you do to kind of prepare for this? Or how does it work for you?
So most of my day, so I allocate sort of different chunks of my day for different things. So I sort of group it up, because obviously I've got all the different services that I do from the psychic and mediumship. So I typically will have the first part of my day will be the superconscious recoding. And then the second part of the day will be where I do sort of like my psychic and mediumship within, really within in my group. But it's really important within that, because I am so busy, to have that time to look after myself and say, some days I say, actually, I'm going to have today off.
Good.
I'm going to sleep, or I want to meditate, or I want to do yoga, and I'll just take that morning off. Which is something that's taken me a long time to understand, being an empath, that typical empath burnout that we all get. It's taken me a number of years to learn to listen and trust my body. But I'm so connected with spirit that they just tell me. Sometimes they'll just say, you need to rest. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have the day off.
No, I love it. This happens often though. I'll connect with someone that's intuitive on this show, and I somehow knew you were going to say yoga. I don't know if you're close to the ocean, because I keep this vision of ocean around you. I do. We didn't talk about this before, guys. We didn't. I kind of, I think that's so important. I really, for example, try to instill this with my own boys. I have two boys. And there were days, and I had both of them, even with the younger one with autism, he's very intuitive. He's very tuned in energetically. And my eldest has really got powerful gifts as an empath. He's a classic empath. And there'd be days where, you know what, the anxiety was through the roof. And I just say, you know what, we're having a day off today. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
And because we're not taught that as children even. And I thought that's so important to realize. And I think you touched on an important nerve there. That exactly, we're taught like you go to work 9 to 5, you go whether you're on your, and I don't mean literally your deathbed, and you
Yeah.
go to work and you need to be responsible instead of realizing maybe you're just really tired and mentally, physically, emotionally, sensory, what it could be anything, but you need a day off, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I find as well, one of the things that we are sort of like habits that we have about how we structure our week is
Mhm.
solely dependent on what we grew up with.
Mhm.
So most of us were in a home where our parents traded their time for money.
Mhm.
Time is you can never get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Money you can get more money.
Mhm.
And we're taught this. And what happens is we start to build businesses, or we start to navigate or create a world where we do exactly that. And what you have to do is try and break away from that,
Mhm.
and realize that you don't have to trade it in the same way. There are other ways of living,
Mhm.
so you can have be more fulfilled ultimately.
Or people, and there's many that they take up a profession and that's it for their whole entire life.
Yeah,
Like my partner just started, he's done so many different jobs, but he just started a job and it involves names. And he says he's met the nicest guy there. Apparently went to my high school, but he's older than me. He has been in this job since he graduated from high school and he's near
yeah,
retirement. Now, he doesn't seem unhappy, but he actually shared with my partner that he really, really regrets when his children were little, especially working nights, all that
yeah.
he missed because he couldn't be there. And for what, right? What's wrong with changing a profession? Like, how many people do we meet that hate their job, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So many people, and we just have to, break away from this cycle to know that there is more to life than that. We don't have to live lives like that. We don't have to go through our life hating our jobs, hating our lives. Like there is absolutely more. You just have to want more for yourself. You have to believe, change that belief structure to believe you deserve to live a life you love ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Because I've never done this before, but I know Zach quite well and I know him personally. So, Zach, I'm going to call you out if you're still here. I think you are. Um, you want to get that cigar shop of yours going. And he, once in a while, do free readings or what have you, or he'll ask if people are doing readings. And he had gone in, and no, I'm not telling tales out of school. He shared this in the chat and what have you.
Yeah,
He did go into a venture with a bunch of people and unfortunately it didn't work out. But anytime I've said to him, this can happen for you, like this, he's got a regular day job now, but I know this is your dream. So if you were talking to Zach, and again, I don't expect you to go through everything, but is it like what kind of suggestions besides like say looking you up, but is there anything that Zach could do to help himself achieve, and this is his dream, like this is his passion, I know it is, because he's on,
yeah.
face, he's always educating people about different cigars and what have you. He loves them. So you
I
got to.
love that you've asked this question, and yes, absolutely. So we have this structure which is wrong in the personal development world. So what happens is we know that we want something. We know we want to go for a goal, and what
Mhm.
we do is we look at the goal and we think about the goal, and there's an energy exchange, and when that happens, and what happens is we then judge ourselves
Mhm.
and we compare ourselves to that life in a judgmental way. Now,
Mhm.
this has an energetic response that we aren't aware of, most humans aren't aware of. So
Mhm.
whilst we're thinking, oh, I'm not there yet, I really wish I was there, you are essentially moving yourself further and further away from your goal energetically. So you can flip the structure of this. So instead of doing it in that way, what you can do is really get your goal clear, be so clear on this goal, and step into the emotion of that end result. This is one thing that I teach people as part of the group. You stay in this emotion. So this is my goal. Imagine this goal as if it's already here now, but feel the emotion, exaggerate the feelings, turn it up so that you can teach your body how this feels. And what that does energetically is it pushes you closer to your goal. And then you stay in this emotion as much as you can, because what happens is there's a neurological change that happens when we have an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happens, it changes our actions.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're in that end result, our actions are going to be as if we already have it. So we're going to do more. We're going to take the correct action that's going to be successful for this goal.
Okay, so now I got to ask you this, because this is human nature. And I know Zach's even asked this too. And I know I've asked it years before, even now. And I try to realize now, I just gave this advice to someone. I wasn't trying to be cliche. It's jump and the net will appear. It will. You just gotta believe it's gonna appear, right? And like you said, I agree with everything you've said. But it's human nature that when you dream of this and you get into the feeling about how well it'll feel, then comes in the thought, but if I fail, how am I going to know if this is going to succeed? How do we quell that thought then? Because that's human nature.
So that is the recode. So by doing the recode, it removes that completely. You don't have those feelings. So one thing that I ask people to do when I do a recode is, before we go in, we think about our goals, and then I get them to give me a score from 0 to 10. With 10 being, this is just not possible for me. I feel like I'm swimming uphill. It's hard. And 0, being I can do it. And then we use this goal and we recode it, and then we come out and we score it again. Most people have gone from a 10 to a 0, 10 to a 1. So that it means that, and this is why I do the group. So we start on a Monday with the goal that you want to achieve this week. It means you just do it. You just be it, because those feelings of not being good enough are no longer stopping you and holding you back. That's why I love it so much.
Oh, he is here. I knew it. I knew he'd be here. And Zach, I know you didn't mind me saying this. And I always tell people, I do a reading or anything, confidentiality, as with people that do this work, is the utmost importance. But Zach has been very open about this. So you can see the comment below if you're watching. Ben, are you able to see it? If not, I'll read it. Because he says, I'm ready to jump. Sadly, COVID and supply chain issues, but my dream back to at least November. So we can't control a lot of the environment. I understand that. But I know there's been many thoughts about that, right, Zach? Because it is human nature. He's a young guy. He's got a fiance, and trying to keep money coming in. We need money to live on. I just mentioned that. So have you got any suggestions? Because he said it pushed it back. Obviously, we can't control the environmental things, but
for me in this situation, because many people are in similar situations that first come to me, is staying in that end result, staying in that emotion as much as we can. And just putting the fact that COVID's happening or whatever negative situation's happening to the side, and just almost pretend like it's not there. Pretend it's not there.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, stay in the emotion of it, and what will happen is things will change. Things within like a short space of time, an opportunity, something changes. Like even in the environment around you, and you're like, there's no way that could have happened. There's no way. You cannot, logically explain how that shift has happened, because you're in that end result, because your superconscious doesn't know what's real, what's in the future. As far as your superconscious is concerned, that's happening now. So that means it has to move the world around you as if it's already here.
And it sounds crazy, but it's true. So even though I said you can't control the environment, and I was hoping you were going to say this, because think about it. Okay, let's talk about this with spirit. And I tell people this all the time. Never mind mediumship. What a beautiful healing modality to bring so much peace to so many people, especially the living that are left behind. They never got to have those conversations, or it ended on a bad word, and they feel like their loved one is harboring, a lot of the human emotions that I find we lose a lot of that. We can see everything from all perspectives. We go back to that 5D and beyond, rather than the 3D existence that we are as a human being here. But the thing is, when I say, let's talk about this, I tell people, don't ever try and figure out how the universe, your super conscious, your
Yeah.
guides will make it happen, right? Because it'll happen in the strangest, craziest way, right?
Yeah, all the
Mm-hmm.
time, constantly. And we have to live in that place of surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just surrender to spirit because they will look after us.
Yes.
They
Yes.
will, always.
Well, that's what I say to people is, you know what, whether you believe in your guides or angels, ascended masters, I mean, we can go on with all the loving, positive beings that are behind us to support
Yeah,
us. You're never alone. I said they believe in you. They're with you. And it's so hard to wrap your head around it, I guess, if you haven't been taught to think that way. I always say if I live long enough one day, or I plan on it, that we raise children right from birth to believe
yeah,
these things, to understand it, their potential. Because that's another thing I talk about. I love that you said when you're doing your work, okay, and recoding, it's like it's there. You just have to switch it on, don't you? Like we've been told it's not possible, but imagine if we were being told, sweetie, you can do anything you put your mind to. No, we're really actually teaching young children meditation,
yeah.
telepathy. I mean, I could go on, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the most extraordinary things that can happen once we know. I mean, just take remote viewing as an
Oh, right.
example.
Yes.
We can remote view anywhere that we want, and
Hmm.
we just don't know that. So if that's possible, what else could be possible that we're just unaware of, that our human brains right now, based on our society, doesn't understand because we've never been taught?
It's so funny that you brought up remote viewing because I've had this argument. You met Joe. I usually give Joe a shout out on the network, and I said, well, I love the owner of UPRN. He used to produce us. We know how to produce our own shows now. Ben got to meet him just before, and I've had this argument with him about remote viewing because he says, nope, nope, you can only remote view. You can only see things from a distance. I said, no, you can't. I said you can go and exactly what you said. You can go anywhere, past, present, future. You can go
Yeah.
places like you could read the printing off of an old dot, anything, right? Remote viewing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, anywhere, and I use this on so many different levels. I use it in my mediumship a lot
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I was in a reading the other day, and I basically was taken there. I was taken to the place that the communicator was, and I was looking around, and it sort of did go into a bit of first person mediumship as well, where I was looking out of the eyes of the spirit
Ooh,
communicator,
mm-hmm.
seeing their house, seeing where they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be used on through psychic levels, but and the mediumship side as well. And
Mm-hmm.
do you think that's huge to be able to do that?
It is, but that's what my whole point is. And like I said, I love to get into, I should say, lively discussions. They're never arguments. We really are like one big family here with all our hosts.
Yeah,
Like we really do.
yeah,
All of us really like each other, get along well. And, that's just it. When you've been taught that it's only one thing and that's the only
yeah,
way. I think with anything, especially right now, one of the questions, and it's not a sin to ask it, is why? Why? Explain that to me, or please lead me to some information where I can understand it more. It's not being confrontational, because like you said, look what happened with you from a first person perspective, to be able
yeah,
to possibly experience, like you said, or however it went. I know you don't want to give too much information. For example, and I'm very honest with people, I tell them mediumship is one of my newer gifts that has come in over the last few years. And I found, and again, this was a limiting belief, but I think that spirit has shown me otherwise, because
yeah,
I believed, I went on a show, and I've just been new to this, and it's a good friend of mine, but people call in and there's so many, they wanted something like every 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. For me, like I kind of got to connect and, hear a little bit more. And it was very stressful for me. So I realized after that, best way this works for me is with a picture. I can see the person's face and, you know, the most recent before they passed. And I'm going to bring this into a meditation before I do reading, what have you. Okay. Well, what's been happening lately, and it's hilarious in a way, kind of, but it's cool because it taught me that no, I was limiting that belief,
yeah,
is that I was on another show. It was called Inside the Mind of Psychic, and we all gave away a prize. We all gave away a reading. John, if you're listening, I haven't forgot your plate. I'm making him a resin crystal charging plate with crystals inside, electrons, cube and stuff. And with the heat and everything, the resin just wasn't the way I wanted it. Anyways, he finally decided to collect on his reading. And I won't give away too many details. And John isn't really his name, by the way. He'll know what I'm talking about. He'll probably hear this. Anyways, I woke up that morning and we hadn't planned to do a mediumship reading. There's a lady at the end of my bed. I said, hello, like in spirit. And it kept feeling like a mother energy. And one of the biggest things for me with mediumship, because I'm so clairaudient and I speak 3 languages, but with mediumship, it's like a different country for me. I don't know if it's like that for you, but sometimes it's like symbols. Now I'm getting goosebumps. Sometimes it's smells. Sometimes I see them and hear them. It just depends. I don't know. Do you find that yourself, or do you always hear them?
So mine is a mixture. I mentor with a guy called Charlie Kelly from the UK.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you ever heard of him, but he's absolutely incredible, and he's changed my opinion on mediumship.
Has he?
Because he's made me realize that whatever we experience is down to us and our awareness and where we put our awareness. And so for example, I used to always say, I'm clairvoyant, like my main clair is clairvoyance. Yeah. And he used to say to me, because that's what you believe.
Yes.
That's what you believe. And I used to think, yeah, you're right, because that's my thing, beliefs. And he really opened up my awareness, and now I realize that as I navigate through my mediumship, it's where what I experience is what I want to experience.
Yes, that's where I'm going with this. Okay, so that's where I'm going with this, because that's another one of my sayings I say all the time is what you perceive becomes what you believe, and it becomes your reality, right? Because it's self-limiting. So with this lady shows up, and I kept feeling like mother energy, and I kept saying, this person's mother? Nope. I just have a message for them. Kept repeating this message. It was the coolest reading I've had in such a long time. So we connect for the reading. Didn't really know why they wanted to have the reading. Just wanted to hear what spirit had to say, right? They just felt like they needed the reading now. So I passed along the message, and they're like, no clue. I have no clue what this means. Nope. And I said, well, don't worry about it. I said, sometimes you might walk away from here and all of a sudden it'll click, or someone will come talk to you, say something, click. And I always get people to record their readings so they can go back. I want them to sit back and hear what I have to say rather than, oh my God, I can write that down or whatever.
Yeah.
By the end of the reading, the whole thing connected so much. It was incredible. It was actually a grandmother. But the whole thing connected. This person had a very unusual health thing that ended them up in the hospital. They're very, very ill, and never, ever, ever happens. But it was all connected to the information that came through. So don't you just hear? But again, the reason why I shared that, and it's to support exactly everything you've been talking about, is even we as ourselves, so what we do, we have limiting beliefs, right? Human beings. I believe the only way I could connect is with a picture.
Yeah, it's huge in the mediumship world, and this is something that I really want to bring the recodes to people who are stepping into mediumship. So when people come to me for mediumship mentoring or psychic mentoring, we actually park that. I actually park it for a few weeks, and I say, well, actually, let's get your mindset right. Because if we can get your mindset right, and you believe in that you can be the best psychic that's around, and you believe that you can connect to spirit easily, then that is going to make your journey. Because I'm sure, as you know, it's a hard journey being a medium, because you have these peaks and troughs, and you have these times where you're so happy.
Saying just like what happened with me.
Yes.
I have no clue what you're talking about. And then you're going, oh my God. Okay, maybe I didn't get the right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And because that's such a hard, and it can be at times damaging to yourself because you're so hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, I park that and say, right, we're going to recode your mind. We're going to remove your limiting beliefs so that when you go into that, that practice or that mentoring or whatever we decide to do, you've got the foundations right and you haven't got this backwards and forwards section. Yeah.
I think that is number one importance, what you just said, especially for somebody that is looking into this kind of work. Because even
Yeah.
talking about healing work, whether you're an artist, a musician, it's not just being an energetic healer or a physical healer or what, but let's just talk about this work of spirituality, right? Being a medium or a psychic or what have you. All we really have until you've just mentioned the line of work that you do is evidential proof. You give
Yeah.
people stuff and you're able to corroborate it, or it happens
Yeah.
more and more and more. And then you
Yeah.
start to build your confidence. Now, if you could start out with exactly what you said, that is so imperative. Let's work on your limiting beliefs before we work on anything else. Imagine where we would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's just a game changer to be able to not have that constant, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough medium, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a good enough psychic. Yeah, so we all go through when we're developing, and actually through most of our career, unless we really get that mindset right.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's so powerful. Like I had people ask me before, well, when do you know you can call yourself a psychic? Or when do you know when I'm good enough to call myself a medium? Or well, part of that, until I've talked with you and I've said to people, because I do believe in the power of the mind,
Yeah.
and I've said to them, what we start out there, even everything's energy, right? So once we speak it and keep
Yeah.
speaking it, the part of our brain which we think runs everything and it doesn't, it's, I guess, the operating system, and the superconscious is the computer, is that it starts to hear it and it starts to believe it, right? But
Yeah.
there's a whole step we could step right there, just to the classes and the courses that you're running or working with you,
Yeah.
and realizing that it can be, those beliefs can be removed, right? Or disbeliefs,
Yeah,
I should say.
absolutely. For sure it can. And I definitely, I agree with the point that you just said 100%, about, and one of the things I teach in my group as well is that you have to actually be it before you see it in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to be it. So to link into that point that you said, for those people who like, when can I be a medium? Well, just be one. Go and like
Yes.
wherever you can in your week, if it's like a free reading for a friend, if it's whatever you feel like, as long as you're pushing through that comfort zone, just be it. And then you'll see that their world will really open up for you because you're already it.
Mm-hmm. So kind of the same thing. I don't have the reprogramming part, but I do believe in the power of the mind, like,
Yeah.
thinking and what have you. And I mean, we have to be realistic about it. You can't be running around and life's really not that great. But then again, there's got to look at why it's not so great. But I was just having this conversation with somebody, and I was saying, um, without giving away too much, they've had an accident, I'll say, that caused them to really be limited physically, and really, really getting into the story and sharing and going on. And I said, part of that is, hey, Shady D, glad you're here. Welcome. She's one of our regular people too. You're meeting Ben Eden. You'll have to go back and listen to the beginning. We've had an interesting conversation. So
Hi, Shady.
back to this lady, and it
Yeah.
was so hard for her to see, processing. Of course, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of loss there, but
Yeah.
but the way that we tell our story, and if we keep living that story over and over, how more deeply ingrained it becomes.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to say to this person was, and I don't know if I'm wording it properly. And again, but get that out of your head, that there's other ways we can express it. The more we hang on to it, if you know what I'm saying. Like, do you work with a lot of people that have these issues, like say chronic pain or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love working with people
Mhm.
who have, this sort of issues within their
Yeah.
life,
Hmm.
because you can heal it. You can live a life that's full of health and vitality, no matter what condition that you have.
Hmm.
Um, but like you said, what we do is there's a part of us that likes to be a victim. whether people like to know that or feel that, it's true. We like to be a victim as humans, and there's a part of our personality that wakes up, and it serves us at times. It serves us to be that sort of person. But what happens is when you shift your reality to no longer embodying the identity, like you said, and embodying an identity of being so healthy and vital, the most incredible things can happen. As an example, there was one guy who was mostly blind who
Okay.
can now see completely.
I love it.
He's got complete eyesight because he stopped being the victim of being blind, and he started embodying, okay, I can see, and he stepped into that end result of emotion, and his whole focus was, I can see. Lo and behold, within I think it was within a year of just really focusing on that, he had cured it, and now he can see, no glasses or anything.
And it can happen. And that's what I've said to people, that any of the things that you've been told are not curable or it's impossible. And I even brought up, like, in the future, there's going to be things like, say, for example, med beds. But do you really need a med bed when you're talking about, we have all the power right here? And I don't mean it from an ego point. I mean about, like you said, shifting reality in your belief systems.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, it's even the fact of us sort of like living until a certain age is also in our belief system. And if you look at trends in sort of like when people do pass, and if you look at their families, it's very similar ages, because it's their belief system that's what they believe, they will die around that age. So that's what happens.
I'm going to give you an example. He's been on the show many times. He's a good friend of mine. Do you know Augie Nost at all?
No.
Okay. Him and Nori Love, Shady D knows them. He has a free meditation, I'll call it. It's called the Mastermind. And it's on Sundays for 2 hours, right? And they focus on, he believes that when you have more than one mind focused on something, you create a mastermind. And it's, say, 10 people in a room, you harness the power of 100. But my whole point is, I remember having this conversation with him privately, and he said, do you know who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009? I said, no, should I? And he goes, yeah. And I said, who? And he said, there's two scientists that won the Nobel Peace Prize for, I guess, revealing what causes aging in the human body. And he said that should have been known across the world. I said, I agree. So he has literally, he doesn't believe in death. He said he does not believe in death. He does not believe he's going to die. And so he literally, there's pictures, and I know him well enough, he would never lie about this. He shifted the color of his hair from gray to dark brown. And he talks about the, human beings over in China that have lived, I think he said when he was on my show last, it was verified. I think the poor man got hit by a bus or something, but he was like 220 something years old. So
I followed that story.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying right now, right? Like, exactly, because of the limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few documented cases actually of people have actually been able to survive for around about that age. And also I think as well there was one where the person died at 250 or something around there, and they found out at a later date that he actually lied about his age and he was older.
Oh wow, really?
He's actually older than that. So there's so many cases, but again, it's all all down to that belief system that we have. We've always been told, for as long as we've existed, that the average expectancy is we're going to probably die anywhere between about 80 and 90. So that's what happens.
Or as human beings, so centuries ago, we lived much longer, did we not? I know they're finding like historical digs and things like that, right? We lived much longer than that, did we not?
Yeah, much longer. There's so much that's being uncovered like over the last few years, and I'm seeing a massive sort of uprising in it, and new information being found, and information that was found but was withheld and things. So it's really interesting to follow that journey.
I know I love finding things like that, and then
Yeah,
you'll see archaeological digs of all kinds of like giants, and so I always say nothing's possible. Like, don't get me wrong, it's like really,
yeah,
really, really, it's got to be pretty crazy though for me not to, at least if something resonates with me, look into it further. It's not like I'm gullible, like, oh my God, yeah, that's got to be true.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I'll have
yeah,
to do some research, but there's so many things that, and like I said, I guess it kind of infuriates. It doesn't infuriate me, it frustrates me because we have been led to believe all these things that aren't true. And so I'm so glad you're doing this kind of work. And I think we need about a gazillion of you because everyone in humanity, practically, unless you've lived under a rock, could benefit from this. Am I not right?
absolutely. Everyone, and no matter where you are in your development,
Mm-hmm.
you can always get better and achieve more. So, and this is really what I love about it. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're trying to achieve. One person's biggest goal could be health. Another person's could be to be a millionaire, and it works across all levels.
So I guess, how do we get people to realize that we dream too small? Because you all hear it. Like, for example, I want to dream. I really want to, maybe you really want to manifest, or however you want to dream of it, or what you want to be a billionaire. Then you hear things back from your parents, right? Money doesn't grow on trees.
Yes, biggest one that everyone was told as a child. It's
Mhm.
and one of the most detrimental ones to your financial situation.
Yeah. Or you're selfish to be asking for stuff like that. That's far too much to be asking for, or whatever it
Yeah,
might be, right? And we do hear these things, or I can't
yeah,
begin to tell you how many people that you end up unraveling this to childhood. And again, it's no fault on a parent, but what they may have heard, children are meant to be seen and not heard. That's another
yeah,
thing too, isn't it?
yeah. It's absolutely huge. All of these beliefs, and I think this is why I try and do, as much sort of like talks and recodes for free, like as much as I can, to just really shift
Mhm.
people's perceptions, so that with the hope that they can start teaching their children something
Yes.
different, so that we break the cycles. This is where it starts, the children of the future. We educate them, and at some stage in my life, I would love to do some work in schools to help
Oh, I love
children
that.
understand this, so that we break the cycle right there if we're able to get it into the children.
I think that's where I was going with it. And first I said,
Yeah,
I hope to know, I envision living long enough to see that we
yeah,
start from infancy. Now, this would be,
yes,
again, re-educating parents. And like I said, when I mentioned earlier, working in the maternal newborn ward and saying to a parent, doesn't matter if you've read every book, the baby didn't read the book. But even,
yeah,
making that part of education for parents, because it's true, you can read every book on the planet,
yeah,
and you don't know what kind of baby you're going to get. But if this isn't really a book, this would be tools, right? Like things that we would help, that would come naturally eventually after a couple generations if we've been raised this way, I would think.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would definitely. And with the bright energy and time and enough sort of exposure and awareness,
Hmm.
that we can gradually chip away at this sort of like structure that we've had for so many years. It's time to break through that structure now. It's time.
Now, you said something a little earlier that I've been thinking about and meaning to ask a little bit more about
Yeah.
for our listeners. You said this can go back 7 generations. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I sit down and have a one-to-one with someone on over a recode, um, and we really unpack that and think about, okay, so let's just really think about the last 7 generations of your family.
Mhm.
And there's a direct correlation to that person's limiting belief to someone in their life who had an issue. And I can actually a lot of the time see that in their superconscious, because I have the benefit of being a psychic medium too. So when I'm connecting to somebody's superconscious field, I can say and see what's going on with your great granddad, and they're like, oh yeah, he had huge debt. he had huge debt and he got in so much trouble and he had issues with fraud. And then you can see the correlation. So what do you think about money? Money's bad, because that's what's come down from that generation. So yeah, it's been proven seven generations now.
I guess what I'm wondering too, so like you said, the reason why you navigated the path that you did because you wanted to give a 360 approach, and I can obviously see that. But I'm also wondering too, because they've been able to prove science, like say you've got a little group of monkeys over here, they've learned how to use a new tool, and then they're finding like right across the world that now monkeys over there are doing it. My point is it something you're seeing that can be carried in the DNA, if you will, or how is it? Like that's what I'm thinking, right? Energetically, we can get it spiritually, also just physically. But so, would you mind sharing a little bit more about that for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we think about sort of like the world trauma that has happened for over the last, say, think about your last 7 generations, there is so much that's happened from like a whole world point of view, like all of the wars that happened. So that trauma that happened, because it was so huge, it changes the structure of the DNA there and then as it's happening. And then what happens is this is then passed down to all of the other generations. And this because it's a really big fear that people had to go through, and even now with the COVID situation, like the amount of fear that people have had to go through wouldn't have changed their DNA structure. So that will be passed down, and this is how we can have our family's generation. So typically, as a female, you will pick up 7 generations of your dad's side, and then vice versa. So if you're male, it'll be your mum, 7 generations from your mum's side. So this is huge in understanding where your beliefs come from.
It's massive. And again, I think the biggest thing that people don't realize is a lot of people have beliefs that they don't even realize are beliefs. And then, like you said, to work with you, especially one on one, and you start to unpack it, and then you went, holy cow, yeah, I do believe that. Or even maybe don't even realize you believe it, but as you say it, something your body will always tell you, right? Like it'll always tell you. And that's why I always say it's so important that you'll get people, again, self-limiting belief, but to have quiet time and action, turn off your brain and sit in the quiet, just breathing. That's meditation, right? But so many people get so up on, well, I can never quiet my brain. It just doesn't happen. I just can't do it. So we can even really oversimplify and say if you tell yourself that long enough, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, because I teach meditation as well,
There you go. I didn't even know that. So there you go. I'm glad I brought that up. Yeah.
One thing that I really love to teach people when it comes to this meditation, because it's the biggest thing that I say, what stopped you from meditating? Why hasn't it worked? Like, oh, I can't shut my brain off, or my mind wanders. And I say, talk to me why that's bad. Why is that a bad thing? And because we have believed that we're not meditating and we're not getting the benefits unless we're completely there. But what's actually happening when our mind wanders, when we're in this meditation, is we're moving through unconscious energy. It's a good thing. It's good. It's good for your mind to wander.
You're the first person. I know that. Okay. And it's just give permission that it's all right. I'll tell people that.
Yeah.
Just that you're sitting quiet. And lots of times we go into meditation, we don't even realize it, like daydreaming or what have you. You were the first person who said that on my show. So thank you. Because so many people need to hear that because they've stopped meditating. And I tell them it's not just a spiritual woo-woo thing to do. I said, see, it's a big companies do it. A lot of pro athletes do it. They've proven, 15 minutes of meditation is akin to, I believe, 45 minutes to an hour of sleep. Like it's so powerful, right, for the human body and mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the important thing to note around the meditation is the aim of the game is to get your brain into a deep frequency of healing. That's really what's happening. This is when you're really able to transform your body and your mental health and your emotions as well. So as long as you're in that meditation, your brain is in the healing frequency. So it doesn't matter whether you're here It doesn't matter whether you're thinking about what you're having for dinner, you're in the relaxed state. And over time, if you continue to do this, over time, it becomes less and less. But either way, regardless of whether you are present or whether you're not, you are still reaping the benefits of the meditation.
I love it. Now, this is an important question because I get this a lot about PTSD.
Yeah.
Can never be fixed, never be cured. This is what people believe. And I tell them, no, it's what you believe. Like, it can happen. So Shady D, I'm not pointing you out here, but I think it's a great comment. You said generation PTSD is a phenomenon for sure. You pick up on people's fears even if they are smiling and happy. True. But we hear about this PTSD with a lot of people that can't seem to find any relief or get any healing. What's your thoughts on that? How can you help people like that, Ben?
So, interesting point. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was diagnosed with it, and I was able to completely overcome it and cure myself from it. Everyone's situation is different, because obviously your trauma is relative to you, to what you've experienced. So I definitely do feel like it's something you can overcome, and you can get into a place and flip that switch around. But typically from people that I've seen over my sort of career and experience is when they get that diagnosis is when you will start experiencing it on a lot stronger level, because it's like I like to call it the reverse placebo effect.
Yes.
And that's when we're told, we go to the doctor and we're told, okay, you have anxiety. All of a sudden, your anxiety levels are really increased because you are embodying that identity of it. It's my opinion.
No, I don't think you're wrong at all in any way, shape, or form. And I don't say I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form either, but I'm a firm believer in what we tell ourselves, we embody. And like you said, when you've received it from somebody such as a physician, who most people still to this day will put a doctor on a pedestal, and whatever the doctor says is word, it's law, and you're right. Then you see it really solidified, if you will, really sunk in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this so much. So many people that come to me and they've sort of like had gone to see a doctor for a number of years, and that identity is really firm within their belief system now because they've been seeing a doctor for so many years. And you should always, just to note, you should always see a doctor for any medical health things. So you should. But what I'm saying is essentially that identity starts to change to say, right, I am someone who I am my anxiety. That's how people start to sort of like orientate their way through their life.
I just love this. We're almost out of time. We have like 2 minutes. I could talk to you for
no way.
I told you that was going to happen, right? It just goes by so quick.
Yes.
I loved having you on here. Is there anything else you want to tell people before I tell people where to find, or you tell them where to find you and stuff? But did we miss? I didn't even know about the meditation. So good thing that came up, that you teach people how to meditate. Is there anything we missed or you want to share besides that? We'll make sure they find out about your course and stuff, but anything in your practice?
I think it's all covered. I think I just really want to be able to help as many people as possible from, my own experiences, and being able to rip through the many limiting beliefs that I had. Like my life is now dedicated to helping people find that inner power within them. And I really want to bring this to as many people as possible. And it's why I do a number of free recodes, as much as I can, so that people can see that shift instantly.
That's wonderful. I'm going to be sending lots of people your way, even lots of people that are newly awakened or what have you.
Yeah,
definitely. So after I talk to you after this, I probably won't be right after this, but possibly tomorrow. I'm going to make sure I tell people that I get to know, and I love the work that they're doing. Feel free to share it in my groups too. I'll mention it after yourself, because there's almost 2,000 people. That's the beauty of the internet, right? The whole world is our office. We can reach so many people that way. So where can they find you, Ben? Before you say that, I want to read Zach and said, great show tonight. Thank you, Ben, for joining us tonight. Please come back in the future, and have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Zach. And I mean that too. We're going to have you back on here. I know we are, if you're open to it.
Absolutely. I'd
Okay, so
love to.
where can they find you, Ben?
So you can find me on my Facebook group, Ben Eden, the Healing Medium. That's where I have lots of my spiritual guidance. I do weekly psychic and mediumship readings on there, completely for free. If you want to connect with me, either on my super conscious group or on a one-to-one basis, just head over to benedenthehealingmedium.com/home, and you'll see a full list of all of my services that I offer.
Well, I loved having you here. I was so looking forward. I was thinking because of our time difference. And I went, oh gosh, maybe I won't be able to come. I am really flexible that way. I was so excited about having you tonight. So, well, tonight or daytime for where you are.
Daytime. It was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. And I want to remind everybody, if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can find me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock. I have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal. And then I have the Angel Rocker Tribe. We cover some of the topics that Ben does. We don't do what Ben does, but we cover those topics, the power of the mind, chakras, power positive thinking, how to connect with your guides, you name it, we cover that. I also want to remind you, next Monday, I do not know why we don't have Thanksgiving the same time as our neighbors in the United States, but we don't. So here in Canada, you guys don't have Thanksgiving next week, do you?
No.
In Australia, we do. So you don't?
No.
Okay. Well, we do. So I will be here on Thanksgiving Monday. Now, I have a guest I've been trying to have on for 18 plus months. You do want to attend this if you have any questions. Her name is Dr. Carrie Madej, Madej. So you want to attend if you can, because I have a feeling it's just going to be stop questions. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for attending here with us tonight. We love you. We love your comments and everything else you've got that you add to our groups. Thank you. Ben, you're amazing. I'm so glad you're
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I loved having you. You guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.